Good evening. This is Mayor TJ Cawley, and I'd like to welcome you to tonight's Morrisville Town Council regular meeting for April 28th, 2020. And it's anything but regular. It's our first virtual meeting in the town of Morrisville, and we welcome you for joining us. At this time, I'd like to recognize Eric as our town clerk, who's going to do a roll call of those in attendance. Mr. Smith.
This is Eric Smith, the town clerk. Mayor Cawley.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
Present.
Councilmember Fender.
Present.
Councilmember Garamella.
Present.
Councilmember Rao.
Present.
Councilmember Robati.
Present.
Councilmember Scroggins Johnson.
Present.
Okay, having everyone present, at this time we're at adoption of regular agenda. It is the purpose of this council to call for any conflicts of interest in relation to any items on the proposed agenda. Does any council member have any such conflict of interest at this time?
None at this time.
Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to adopt tonight's agenda.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
Okay, this is Mayor Pro Tem Liz Johnson, and make a motion to adopt tonight's agenda.
I have a motion to adopt tonight's agenda by Mayor Pro Tem Johnson. Do I have a second?
Councilmember Rao.
This is Councilmember Steve Rao. I second that motion.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of adopting tonight's agenda, please reply to Eric Smith during the roll call vote.
Councilmember Fender.
Aye.
Councilmember Garamella.
Aye.
Councilmember Rao.
Aye.
Councilmember Robati.
Aye.
Councilmember Scroggins Johnson.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
Aye.
Mayor Cawley.
Aye.
The regular agenda is adopted and approved by a vote of 7-0.
Thank you very much. We are now at item 5 on the agenda, action items. Item 5A, a resolution amending town council policies and rules of procedure. I pass it back to you, town manager, for an update.
Thank you, Mayor. Council operates with an established set of rules of procedure that includes a variety of guidelines, in particular with remote meetings. Our rules are guided by what the state authorizes us to do, and we are limited in our virtual meeting options. Given the state of emergency, we have developed a proposed Rule 19 to incorporate into our existing rules of procedure that would authorize and guide virtual meetings for some or all of our council. And tonight we are doing that with all. It provides maximum flexibility and steps in place of some of our existing rules for remote participation, in particular allowing each council member a vote, which is not in accordance with our remote participation policies. It allows for fluidity in the agenda and in the order of business. It establishes a public address procedure so that the community may still listen and participate, but through some different processes, and adoption of votes through roll call. If we are still in a state of emergency as we approach the budget adoption, we would be able to do that virtually as well, and also addresses some quorum procedures. This rule would be in effect related to announced states of emergency, would need to be invoked for use by town council, and then would cease to be used when the state of emergency exists and after period of time to restore normal operations, and that would also be a vote that council would need to make. I am happy to answer any questions, and at the end would request that you take two motions, one to adopt the rule and then one to invoke the rule. I'm going to recognize Councilmember Robati first.
No questions at this time.
Thank you, Councilmember Robati. Councilmember Scroggins Johnson has a question.
Yes. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. So as far as this rule goes, it's for the state of emergency for the town of Morrisville. Or is it when the governor declares a state of emergency, would this be applicable as well?
Thank you for that question, Councilmember Scroggins Johnson. As written, it would be able to be invoked by the majority vote of town council for any state, local, or federal state of emergency.
Wonderful. I just have another follow-up question.
Yes, ma'am.
This is written so that we can use it for a state of emergency in the future, and I think that is wonderful. What I do not know, or maybe we don't know, the stay-at-home order is separate but related to the state of emergency that we have today. If the stay-at-home order goes through these phases that are being talked about now, will the state of emergency for the North Carolina, continue as well as the stay-at-home phases? Do you know? I'm just trying to understand, is the stay-at-home separate or is it continuous with these loosening of restrictions?
We are happy to get clarification of that. A couple follow-up points as well. I do believe that the state of emergency itself will continue to exist even as restrictions are released, and I will be happy to verify that. I will also mention to town council that our state legislature, who gives us the authority for our open meetings law and how we may conduct them, did go into session today. The North Carolina League of Municipalities had previously indicated to the Special House Committee addressing COVID-19 issues that we needed some guidance in this area, so that we are hopeful we would receive that and we would be able to amend or revise this rule as any others with town council if we received that additional guidance.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilmember Rao?
Thank you, Manager Page. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, as a follow-up to that, I just want to make sure there's many businesses out there, people looking at just how we reopen. So Governor Cooper announced that on May 8th, the stay-at-home order ends. And after that period, he's broken it down into 3 phases, assuming that the benchmarks have met, which is like no positive cases for 14 days. So the question is, would the county then agree to those restrictions, and then the town of Morrisville would agree to those restrictions so that the reopening would be consistent with what the governor does? I just want to, that's my question.
Yes, sir. The current Wake County state of emergency expires on April 30th. Wake County is discussing how to proceed with both the managers and with the mayors in order to take action by April 30th. One of the options could be to allow that order to expire, and then the governors would go into effect. That is, I believe, the recommendation that is being considered. We do not have final guidance or direction from Wake County on that yet. I don't know if the mayor has anything to add from the mayor's perspective.
I would just add that the governor's order is in effect now, and if Wake County allowed theirs to expire, the governor's would continue to be in effect. It wouldn't go into effect. So that's just a nuance.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to recognize Frank Gray, Town Attorney, please.
Thank you, Martha. Frank Gray here. Just wanted to add a couple of points on the resolution. As Martha said, the League of Municipalities has worked hard to get clarity on how these types of meetings can be conducted, making sure it's open to the public, making sure the public has access to the information, making sure the public understands who votes and when you vote. And so the Rule 19 has been designed in accordance with the proposed legislation. It has not passed yet, but I think most people feel certain it will pass into law. And so we have tried to anticipate that law change and design this resolution accordingly. So again, as Martha mentioned, it would require 2 votes. Number 1, to adopt this rule and put it into your package of town council rules. And then a separate vote to go ahead and say, yes, we want to operate under this new rule for the foreseeable future until you decide not. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Councilmember Rao, did you have an additional comment to make?
Just one reminder to the public listening. I think it's also very important to understand that the governor did remind the state that it's a fluid situation. If the benchmarks aren't met, then he may have to amend the state of order. And in that case, then I guess the county would have to amend and align in the town. And I think it does get confusing sometimes from the public where there's different standards from, for example, the governor's order said up no more than 50. And then I think we changed it and ours said 0, or something like Durham saying, you can't wear masks. And, so I just hope that as we go down this road to get back to normal, that we can try to the extent we can, working with the county to be consistent so that we don't have to keep going and tweaking these orders. But I guess that's just something for the public to understand, because it is all dependent on meeting the benchmarks, which Secretary Cohen mentioned. So I just want to say that for the public listening.
Thank you, Councilmember Rao. Mayor, I see no additional questions.
Okay. At this point, I'd entertain a motion for the resolution amending town council policies and rules of procedure.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 2020-130-0 of the Morrisville Town Council, amending the Town Council policies and rules of procedure.
Councilmember
Mayor
Rabati.
Pro Tem. There we go.
Sorry, Mayor.
I second the motion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Mayor, we need a roll call, please.
Yes.
Yes. Eric, if you'll please conduct the roll call vote for this motion.
Councilmember Fender,
Aye.
Councilmember Garamella,
Aye.
Councilmember Rao,
Aye.
Councilmember Robati,
Aye.
Councilmember Scroggins Johnson,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson,
Aye.
Mayor Cawley.
Aye.
The resolution amending town council policies and rules of procedure is approved by a vote of 7-0.
Thank you, Town Clerk Smith. Now we are at item 5B. Can I get a motion to invoke Rule 19, please?
Councilmember Rabati.
I make a motion that we invoke Rule 19.
I have a motion from Councilmember Rabati to approve. Do I have a second?
Councilmember Rao.
This is Councilmember Steve Rao. I second that motion.
I have a motion and a second to invoke Rule 19. Can I please have a roll call vote, Town Clerk Smith?
Councilmember Fender,
Aye.
Councilmember Garamella,
Aye.
Councilmember Rao,
Aye.
Councilmember Robati,
Aye.
Councilmember Scroggins Johnson,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson,
Aye.
Mayor Colley.
Aye.
The motion to invoke Rule 19 is approved by a vote of 7-0.
Thank you very much. We are now at item 6, the consent agenda. I would like to remove item 6H, lease agreement, from the consent agenda. Do any other council members wish to remove any other item from the consent agenda? Okay, hearing no other.
Question, Mayor? This
Yes,
is
please.
Councilmember Scroggins Johnson. If you're going to remove that item from the consent agenda, when will we be discussing it?
We have
If I
room for
may.
that. Yes, please, Town Manager.
We have added an item to the agenda that any items removed from the consent would follow the action on the consent agenda. So it would come up next, Councilmember Scroggins Johnson.
Thank you for that clarification.
Okay.
No more. Yep, thank you.
Thank you. I'd entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda with that one item removed.
Councilmember Rao?
This is Councilmember Rao. I make that motion to approve the consent agenda.
I have a motion to approve the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Councilmember Rabadi?
I second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. If Town Clerk Smith could please do a roll call vote on that.
Councilmember Fender,
Aye.
Councilmember Garamella,
Aye.
Councilmember Rao,
Aye.
Councilmember Robati,
Aye.
Councilmember Scroggins Johnson,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson,
Aye.
Mayor Colley.
Aye.
The consent agenda is adopted by a vote of 7-0 with the removal of item 6H.
Thank you very much. Now we are at item 7, which is items pulled from the consent agenda. At this time, would Assistant Manager Zudema like to present anything, or should we go right to comments?
Mayor Colley, I am ready for you to proceed if you would like with comments or questions. I can answer any you may have, but thought it might be, if you're okay,
Sure.
we would proceed with comments first. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. I was the person who pulled this from the consent agenda, so I'll share my comments first, and then we'll open it up to others who wish to comment by indicating that in the side. To be clear, I am in favor of and have always been supportive of providing the seniors in our community a temporary space until we find the ultimate home for their programming, which will include multiple spaces to gather, relax, do projects, watch movies, and have exercise classes. Tonight, we are discussing whether to proceed with this particular lease or continue negotiations. This is not a vote for or against a senior center here in Morrisville. I appreciate the efforts which have been put forth and would be okay with this temporary space if the upfit costs were absorbed by the property owner and if I get some answers to another few questions. The $40,000 in contributions to upfit costs that has been negotiated is nice. And if all we were committing to was a $109,000 lease per year, which after some research is an appropriate market rate in Morrisville, I would vote in favor of this lease at this time, albeit I would rather a shorter term with an option to renew. The $300,000 staff is estimating for the upfit cost would be the equivalent of approximately 3 years of rent for a room with some chairs and tables and a smaller room with some computers. Our seniors have been waiting a very long time for a space to meet their growing needs, and we all want to meet those needs as soon as possible. I agree with the needs as expressed in the emails we received via public comment and in phone conversations with senior advisory committee members. Beyond affirming those needs and meeting those needs, I see our role as elected leaders to make sure we are using best practices to invest our tax dollars wisely. I have had the opportunity to speak with 3 commercial realty professionals, and I believe that we could do better than the lease we have before us now, and would ask my fellow council members to join me in directing staff to hire a professional commercial realtor to represent our interests and to seek another viable space. If no other appropriate property can be located by a professional commercial realtor who are negotiation experts, I believe this current property will most likely still be available a few weeks from now. To be very clear, property owners have their own professional representation who are experts at lease negotiation, and there is no cost whatsoever to the town to have our own realtor representing us. I am confident we can do better for both our seniors and our taxpayers and use the difference to enhance our senior programming. I look forward to hearing the thoughts of my fellow council members, and if there is consensus to move forward at this time, I have some questions of staff about the particulars of this lease before us tonight. And that's the end of my comments at this time.
Councilmember Rabati has a comment.
Yes, Councilmember Rabati here. I'd like to thank the mayor for pulling this item off the consent agenda. I believe that since we discussed entering into this lease and during all of the hard work that staff has put in, I think we all agreed that the world was going to remain status quo. And unfortunately, that has not been the case. So I think it's appropriate at this time to just take a step back, make sure that we're still on the right track, that a better opportunity for a better location will not be presenting itself, that the lease we're committing to is still in line with what may be new baseline rents at in Morrisville, and that we're confident that our seniors will be able to avail themselves of the senior center when it is opened. So I just think we just need to have a little conversation around those items for me, and then if we're confident that we're doing the right thing, I am also fine to proceed.
There are no other comments. Mayor Pro Tem Johnson and then Councilmember Rao.
So thank you, Ann, for those comments and for asking those kind of specific questions. So before, I do have some comments I'd like to make, and before I make my comments, maybe we could get your questions answered. And I don't know if Assistant Manager Zudema, if you could give us some feedback on and remind us how we got here to this point. I mean, this is a process that started back in June of 2019 when Council adopted the current year's budget to fund a senior center. And since that time, there has been extensive research done and input from our Senior Advisory Committee on specific needs. And if you could answer maybe some of those questions that have been raised tonight would be helpful.
Brandon, I believe you're muted.
Thank you. Sorry. So the process did begin in the fall of the year in working with a local realtor to attempt to identify an appropriate space. I think, as you know from previous conversations, there are some challenges with identifying the type of space that we are looking for on a lease for a senior center. We need to make sure that we have an appropriate amount of space. We are certainly making sure that we are looking out for the safety and security of our seniors, and we also have often a conflict in the space that may be available versus the parking that is available. So in looking at all those different factors and working with a local realtor, at the very end of 2019 and early into this year, we identified this space on Davis Drive. We entered into a letter of intent with the company at the end of January and have been in regular contact with them since that time, working through the proposed lease agreement and also having staff and other contracted personnel look at the site to develop the estimate for construction and to also ensure that it would meet the needs of our seniors.
Brandon, sorry, do I have to wait to be called on? This is my first virtual meeting.
Yes, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson, did you have any other specific questions I could try to answer for you?
So no, those are, I would like Ann, they're Ann's questions. So I want to make sure she's getting the information she needs. So once that's done, I do have some additional comments I'd like to make, but I'll hold back for the moment. Thank you.
Councilmember Rao, please.
Well, first of all, I just wanted to make a couple points. I was in support of this initially, and after COVID-19 started to have second thoughts for some of the reasons that Mayor Colley cited. I'm a little concerned about the new normal, what that's going to look like. If the decision, what I finally decided is that the decision to approve the lease was now, I most likely would just say, let's hold back. But I think there's basically three reasons why I'm supportive of this. First, the staff time and resources that have gone into it. I think that's something that we have to factor in. But most importantly, I feel like we are going to get back to a new normal. And I think our senior community, that our taxpaying citizens have expressed to us for years that they need a new place to go to. And so I think that this is going to give them an option to get out, to have more space, more activities. We'll never find a perfect place until we eventually develop our own, but this is give them a place to interact. And I think that we owe it to our community to do that. The third point that I started thinking about was the support of our business community, which I'm going to talk about later tonight. But I think as we have these kinds of a senior center there, we could eventually, when we get back to a new normal, help our local shops. We've already had Viva Mexico go out of business. It's getting tough to survive right now, but perhaps they could go there. They can go to Triangle Wine. They can go to they can go to Saffron. They can go to Randy's Pizza. So I think there's a connection between these kinds of decisions and the support of our commerce and business. So for those reasons, I'm in support of it. But I go in knowing that it's definitely the context of that decision is definitely different than it was in the late summer. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Councilmember Scroggins Johnson.
Thank you, Manager Page. I'd like to share some of my thoughts about this senior center item. For me, I have been advocating for a senior center, a specific space for our seniors for programming and such since I joined the council in 2013. I have seen many different scenarios emerge since that time, one being the historic church, where we were hoping that with a parking lot expansion, we could expand programming and allow our seniors to have some dedicated area there. But we've had many challenges with that specific building and access. We have a project right now for the MAFC, which has closed down programming for not only the seniors, but many other groups as well. And now today we have shared space like we always have with the seniors and potentially school-aged children. With the lens of the COVID-19 and some other considerations, I would like the seniors to be in a space that's dedicated for them, that is not mixing with school-age children on a regular basis. The classrooms that they use for programming have before and after care on a daily basis. So I think most of the council would agree that dedicated space is important. So why is this space that has been identified important and timely? The location is actually good. There's sufficient parking, unlike the historic church. The space is available. You could walk to it if you lived in a nearby neighborhood. You can access food sources very easily. There is access to major roads. It is in a good location as far as access goes. It's not a large space, but at this time we're not looking for a large space. We want to have a dedicated space where we can grow the programming and have some flexibility. While we better understand what those needs are, then we can plan for a permanent location for the senior center. So I feel like we've done our due diligence and really looked at the needs of the seniors for many years. And to say we need another 2 weeks to reconsider, I think really is not fair to the senior committee that has been helping us understand their needs. And it's also unnecessary. We have a solution that is good. There will never be the perfect solution. I don't think that exists unless we have our own dedicated building. So I am in support of the senior center proposal as it is today. There could be something later that emerges, and at that time we can speak and discuss that. But right now I'm good. So thank you.
Councilmember Rabati?
So I'm certainly not insinuating that council or that staff, for that matter, has not done their due diligence. And I'm certainly respectful of all of the hard work of the Senior Activity Committee and of council and staff, previous councils and staff. What I'm saying is that I think that since we did that due diligence, everything has changed. So I'm saying that there may be unforeseen circumstances where other properties might become available that would be more suitable, where we wouldn't have to retrofit a restaurant and where we could move in sooner and cheaper. So I'm certainly in favor of a dedicated senior center, and I certainly don't want our seniors to go back to Cedar Fork. That's for sure. But I just think that the fiscally responsible thing to do is to discuss these things and make sure that we've satisfied ourselves that now the tossed property is still the most appropriate property for a new senior center.
Councilmember Garamella?
Yeah. Okay. I have some questions for Brandon. Brandon, so I see some inconsistency where I hear like the mayor talking, we didn't have a real estate agent, and you saying we had a real estate agent, right? I just want to make sure that we did hire a real estate agent to do all the legwork of finding places.
Brandon, let me start on that one because we started this search before Brandon joined.
Okay.
And there are actually multiple realtors involved as we did a broad-based search. So we actually, Todd Wright and I looked at many different places involving many different realtors or brokers. So at the beginning, they were involved in that area.
Okay, and so I just want to make sure that we did use someone who was a professional in doing. And the second question I had about the $300,000 for the outfitting. I don't know if I have seen any design plans, or can anyone tell me like what are they going to get in those? Because I know initially it was they needed a picket ball, and we said, if we can't get that kind of a place.
Brandon, unmute.
The space that is being looked at here is approximately 3,048 square feet. There is an image in the packet that shows the basic floor plan design that has been done by our interior designer to give us a pathway to what the uses might be in that facility. What that includes is a front large open space that's approximately 1,500 square feet. That space can be set up so that we can accommodate up to 56 persons in tables and chairs. It is also designed such that we could basically put away and nest those tables and chairs so that you could then have the open floor space. So as you see on your screen now, towards the bottom of the screen where it says activities, bingo, etc. That shows you how the space would be set up with tables and chairs. At the very bottom of the screen is the entrance coming out of the shopping center parking lot into the facility. And then towards the back, about midway, you see the storage area that would be used to put away those tables and chairs if we wanted to have an open floor space. In the bottom right-hand corner, there's a small lounge area that would include a place for seniors to sit and have a TV and have coffee and just have time together. Towards the upper part of the screen, which would be the back of the facility, still in that main room, you would see that there is a kitchenette. So that'll have the ability to bring in food, but also have coffee and other drinks there. Behind that are the 2 existing restrooms, and then we would add 2 additional ADA compliant restrooms. And then finally in the back corner, there would be a classroom space a little bit under 400 square feet that could be set up to do potentially computers. It could be set up as classroom space. It could be a meeting space. It would be fairly flexible in that regard. So that's an overview of what you have in this space.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Brandon, because this is very useful. This gives me a perspective of where the money is getting used for upfitting of the equipment. And the other question I had is, are we, I know like this is going to be a dedicated space, but are we, after giving a priority to the seniors, looking for opportunities where it could be used for other programmings that we are lacking?
So it is primarily intended to be senior space. We do recognize that this could be additional community meeting space, particularly in the evenings, where it would give us some flexibility in that regard. As we develop our senior programming and see what the use would be, that would also help us make other decisions over time as to how the space might be used.
Okay, perfect. And as far as for me, like I think this location is pretty good because when we were talking about the previous venues, one at Perimeter and other areas, they are not connected to the community. I like what Kerry did. They have not a senior citizen, but just an office in the middle of Amberley. But that opens up all the potential opportunities when people see Morrisville, senior citizen center, where you have a lot of foot traffic from Hattie Street and all across these areas. They will actually synergize the activities more and more people will be coming to it. And that is what I like about this location. The other location would have been near the friendly neighborhood Walmart, which had ample parking lot too. But that was the whole thought process for me. I think this is as far as the economy, all these people are on a fixed lease, like for 10 years. So things like this, either they go out of business or they are what they have to fulfill their leases. So for me, I think the property, I did some background check, is in line with the regular property rates around it. So I am totally in it, and I think we owe this to our citizens. And as quicker we can get it done, I would be very happy.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
Thank you. So I have a couple of comments, but before I make my comments, I have a quick question for Brandon. The money we're talking about for the upfitting includes the equipment and the furniture in the facility as well. Is that correct? I mean, because that would be our furniture then, and our laptops or computers or whatever you furnish the site with. Is that correct?
That is correct. We would be responsible for furnishing the facility in terms of furniture, and we would maintain ownership of anything that we used in there that was not permanently installed in there.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that clarification. So I also wanted to bring to everyone's attention, because we're not going to talk about this until the very next item on our agenda, but I wanted to bring to everyone's attention and make sure for the public that they're aware. We did receive some public comments on this item, and Eric's going to fill us in on that in just a bit, but we received separately 5 different emails from members of our senior advisory committee, and each one of them expressed a desire to move forward with this lease agreement. Besides those 5 that we received as public comments for this meeting, we also received an additional email from another senior advisory member also in favor of moving forward with the lease. So you know, I reached out, so I will let everyone know, I reached out to all members of our senior advisory committee last week when I knew that this item was not going to probably stay on the consent agenda. And we all know consent agenda items are typically non-controversial. They're items that we have worked on for a while, or items that are timely, that typically do not have discussion and are voted on in bulk. So when I was made aware that this item would come off the consent agenda, it was really important to me to reach out to our senior advisory committee members and to give them a heads up to that. I felt that was a courtesy that they deserve. So I've actually been able to talk to all 9 members of our senior advisory committee, and I also reached out to some additional senior members of our community that participate in our programming. And I'll give you a little bit of my synopsis on their feedback. But before that, I just want to say our senior advisory committee has been integral in this process for many months now, and I'm only going to talk about the process for this current lease agreement. Prior to this, as Councilmember Scroggins-Johnson mentioned in her comments, this has been a years, with an S, a years-long process of commitment to provide a senior center for our community. And during just the last few months, we have really and only in the last few months have we really narrowed down this search, because council approved in our budget to move forward with a lease for a senior center for our senior community. So in those negotiations and conversations in the last couple of months, there were very specific needs that our senior community needed, and you heard about them. Parking was critically important, safety was critically important, as well as the size of the site that we would land on and pick. The size is critically important because the programming that we are offering our seniors is limited because we are limited in space, and that is important. This site was not the only site that was looked at. This is not the only site that our seniors actually were able to investigate and weigh in on. But this site is critically important because it is a large retail space. It is much larger than your typical kind of storefront in a retail space, and that matters, and that's important. So I want to make sure that all of that is mentioned publicly. Again, as I said, I've talked to all 9 members of our senior advisory committee, plus some additional members that participate in our programming, and not one that I spoke to wanted to put a halt or stop on moving forward. And that actually surprised me, because in this time that we're in with COVID-19, I did think that there was potential that our senior community would want to put a halt on things and would not want to jump back in to our programming and to being together as a community. And that was absolutely not what I found. I found that the opposite. Every single one of them wants very much to get back together to some new normal, whatever that may be, and each understands that that will be different moving forward. So in the past, while our seniors used to pay dominoes or cards, they may not do that right away. That may not be appropriate in the coming weeks or months as we move through our new normal. I also wanted to mention, and I'm going to just kind of paraphrase some of the comments that I heard from our community. And I'll read them. They're really my words. They're a paraphrase. They're not verbatim, but some of the comments I heard was, we need a separate location for the seniors to meet. Cedar Fork Community Center does not meet our needs. We have been talking about this for years. Please don't extend this process any longer. We need a facility sooner than later. The programming offered to our senior community is limited because of space constraints. Our seniors are going to surrounding towns instead. Seniors are valued more in these surrounding communities that offer more stimulating programming. The council has promised the senior community a senior center for years. It's time to step up. Don't renege on your promise by making lame excuses and trying to pull the wool over our eyes. If we come out of this, meaning the virus, we need a safe place to come together. More than ever, we need to come together to receive services like education, support, lectures, especially in this time. Please vote for the Senior Center proposal. There is a tremendous need in the community, and this population is greatly underserved. This is a time for innovation. Please make this work. And constantly and consistently, I heard that parking in this particular site was easy and convenient and much better than other shopping centers in town. And that was critically important to our senior community. And I'm going to read a paragraph that came in one of our emails and also came in our public comment tonight. As a senior resident of Morrisville, a population that over the past 5 years has grown in leaps and bounds, I strongly urge you to approve this resolution and contract. The Morrisville seniors have outgrown all other available spaces that were given for our use, and we have been patiently waiting a long time for an appropriate senior center. The Senior Advisory Committee has also been very active over the past years in searching and looking at available spaces, and the McCrimmon Corners Shopping Center space is the most viable. It is both conveniently located, safe, and offers plenty of needed parking spaces. So while I certainly pride myself on being fiscally responsible, I also pride myself in offering quality services for our community and offering a good quality of life for our citizens. So I am also in favor of moving forward with securing this location, which has been sanctioned by our Senior Advisory Committee. But I would also like to direct staff to negotiate the terms of the lease prior to signing anything. I think our staff has been very good about negotiating for us to this point, and I'd urge you to do that as well, to continue doing that, to get the most favorable terms we can. And at the same time, let's move forward and open a senior center sooner than later. I value our senior community, and I want more and better programming to meet their ever-growing needs. And those are my comments at this time. Thank you all very much for giving me the time.
Councilmember Fender.
Thank you. I really appreciate Mayor Pro Tem Johnson's comments, as well as everyone, the other council members. And my comment is that I am in favor of moving forward with this senior center in this location. And I read through the public comments and the emails, and I understand that this is way overdue. That being said, I liked what Mayor Pro Tem Johnson said with her comments, as well as with the current economy. I want to move forward and I don't want to hold it up, but with the current situation, I would like for our town staff to negotiate and see whether we can get better terms on our contract before we sign the lease and finalize it. That's all I have.
Thank you. Councilmember Rabati.
I've spoken quite a bit on this. The mayor can go. Thank you.
Mayor Colley?
Thank you very much. If you could bring up page 3 of the lease, I have a follow-up question to the statements about having a realtor. So we currently have a realtor helping us negotiate.
We approached multiple places to explore that all had individual people that we worked with to try to secure those spaces and those questions.
So you reached out to the property owners' representatives.
The leasing agents.
Okay. So if we bring up page 3 of the lease.
And Mayor, we asked about that when we spoke with council in September. Specifically asked council about that when we brought this to council in September, and asked that question, and council wanted us to explore the 2 places that had been identified at that time.
Okay, so just to clarify, we do not have a commercial real estate broker negotiating on our behalf at this time. If you go down a little bit further to item R, you see that the landlord has a broker and we do not. So when I spoke to commercial realty professionals, they were very surprised that we did not have a broker, as was I. So I think that I agree with all the statements made in support of a senior center. I am very much in favor of that and meeting all their needs. I am also in favor of making sure that we're safeguarding our taxpayer dollars and investing them wisely. To that end, having some options at this point would be helpful, because in January, we approved staff to move forward with a letter of intent to evaluate this space. Now we have learned that the upfit costs would be between $300,000 and $350,000, which is the equivalent of 3 years rent. And I believe that if we had a commercial realtor monitoring the area and other options, we might also have other options that would be before us now. So I appreciate that my fellow council members had said, I'm in favor of moving forward with this. We would like some more negotiation rather than this lease as is. And I think that that is a responsible step forward. Because I have a couple of questions. Do we have a COVID-19 clause in this lease? I did not see one.
Can you be more specific as to what you mean, Mayor?
At this time, many leases include a COVID-19 clause, which reads essentially that if you're unable to use the space because of government states of emergency or anything like that, you do not have to pay the rent during that time. So that would be something that would be very nice to have in this, to make sure that if we are unable to gather our seniors when it's ready, we wouldn't want to be paying rent, because as is, there's 4 months where we can actually do the upfitting. But even after that, if we're not able to use the space for its intended purpose, we don't want to start paying rent until we can actually start using it. Second question, how old is the HVAC system?
I do not have an age on it, but it has been inspected and found to be operational and efficient.
So we're not sure if that's the original HVAC?
I do not know that right now, no, sir.
Okay, so that would be important to determine if that shopping center is about 20 years old and that HVAC fails, according to the lease, is my understanding, we would be responsible for replacing that, which could be a very hefty sum. So there are a number of things that we don't know that we don't know. And that's why I urge us to get the services of a professional commercial realtor to make sure that we are doing the best for our taxpaying citizens. And that doesn't mean we're not moving forward with this lease. We just have to make sure that we are getting the best possible deal for our taxpayers. And it's not an exaggeration to think that if we find someone and they investigate other options, we may be able to save $150,000. Because upfit costs of $100 per square foot are very substantial. And there might be other locations which do not need such tear down and build back up. So those are my questions. So I don't know if there's any other comments.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson has called for a motion.
Okay, is it possible, as the motion as written is to sign it as is? So Councilmember Johnson, would you like to make a motion?
So I'm fine if there are anyone else needs to make comments, but I would like to eventually make a motion, and I'd like to make a motion eventually to move forward with this lease. I'd like to give our staff the authority to move forward with the caveat that they continue to negotiate the best terms that they can. And if those terms include adding a COVID-19 clause, I'm fine with that. And if that includes looking into the HVAC, I'm good with that as well. But I'd like to get this back into the hands of our staff so they can move the project forward. I think we are looking at a 4-month process where we would need to upfit the facility and get it ready for our seniors. I don't want to delay that process anymore. This is a group that has that unequivocally has indicated that they want desperately to be able to meet again sooner than later. That is important to them. It is especially important in these days and times.
Councilmember Garamella.
Yeah, I'm ready to second the motion too. And I agree with some of the points which have been made are all good. And if the staff can look at what they can do, and so that it doesn't come back to us, you move forward and find the best solutions, you know, so that this whole thing can keep moving.
I will speak on behalf of Brandon and I. We are more than happy to follow up on those questions and try to continue to negotiate the best deal.
Excellent.
Thank you, Martha. Well, I didn't really make a motion. I just said that's what my motion would be, but I'm ready to make a motion unless others have any last minute comments.
Would there be interest in having our staff secure a commercial realtor at this time?
No.
To help us negotiate this contract?
I'm going to say you can go both ways, you know, like if they're ready to negotiate, if any person that you bring it in, I just was calculating, they will charge at least 3 to 4%. That's almost $50,000. So it's only going to add to that unless they will never guarantee that they can help reduce the $350,000 upfit cost. So it's just adding to the whole conversation more.
Councilmember Rabati.
I just wanted to request, Liz, that when you make that motion, could you be as clear as possible what you're actually moving? Because I think that we're voting to move ahead with caution and to try to get the best deal we can, but I just want the motion to be as crystal clear as possible so I know what I'm agreeing to.
Thank you, Ann.
Mayor Colley.
And just to clarify on Councilmember Garamella's comment, the business model of commercial realty is that there is no cost to the tenant to secure a realtor. Essentially, it's like buying a house. If there's one realtor involved, they get everything. So Avison Young, as their landlord's representative, gets it all in any case. There's nothing out of pocket for us to have a commercial realtor advocating on our behalf or looking for sites. That is free service. So hopefully that helps clarify that point. Seeing no other comments, I believe Mayor Pro Tem Johnson would like to make a motion. Just a second, I saw Satish, did you have another comment?
Yeah. I understand, what you're trying to say, but that process can only be invoked when you have starting the whole process again, because there has been a contact between Everson and the town, and introducing any real estate agent at this point of time, I don't know if they'll agree to that. So it potentially could change a lot of other factors. And you're correct, they will keep the entire, whatever commission it is. But they have that binding clause that when the LOC was signed, that at the time there was no agent involved. So just trying to tell that.
Understood. Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 2020-126-0 of the Morrisville Town Council authorizing an agreement with WFC McCrimmon 1 LLC for a senior center, with the understanding that our staff will continue to negotiate the best terms possible, especially as it comes to upfitting cost, but negotiate all terms to investigate the adding an additional clause for COVID-19, and to also evaluate and investigate the HVAC system and its replacement potential.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. If our town clerk, Eric Smith, would please take a roll call vote. Oh, and who had that second, please? Can you announce yourself?
Satish Garimella.
Satish Garimella made a second. Thank you.
Councilmember Fender,
Aye.
Councilmember Garamella,
Aye.
Councilmember Rao,
Aye.
Councilmember Robati,
Aye.
Councilmember Scroggins Johnson,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson,
Aye.
Mayor Cawley.
Aye.
The resolution authorizing an agreement with WFC McCrimmon 1 LLC for the Morrisville Senior Center with additional caveats as stated by Mayor Pro Tem Johnson passes with a vote of 7-0.
Thank you very much. We are now at item 8 on our agenda, public comment. I'll pass the screen back to Eric Smith, our town clerk.
There were 5 comments received for public comment. These comments received were from Frida Hamlet, Joyce Day, Joy Red Skinner, Phyllis Smith, and Rick Bain. All 5 comments were in support of the resolution authorizing an agreement with WFC McCrimmon 1 LLC for the Morrisville Senior Center. Council has received the full text of each comment, and any comment received will be included in the public record.
Thank you, sir. Moving on, we are at item 9 now, council comments. And we're going to do those alphabetically. If Mr. Smith, if you could recognize each of the council members per the order.
Councilmember Fender.
Well, I get to go first then. There's so much I could say, and so many people in the community and on the town staff that I could think, but we would be here for a very, very long time. So I'm going to keep my comments specific to the emergency meals initiative that delivers lunch and dinners to the families who qualify for free and reduced lunch in Wake County. And I wanted to thank specifically Jerry Allen, Katie Boone, Stephanie Workman, that over the weekend when it was determined that Wake County schools would be closed on Monday, and I believe other people in our town staff were involved in this as well. But over the weekend, they were able to have it organized, and day one on March 16th, they had a location at Cross Timber Apartments in Morrisville to deliver those emergency meals to those families. And then also wanted to thank in particular Laura James, who she was originally a volunteer, and then now because they have opened a second site at Preston View Apartments, she has now become a site supervisor for that location and is there every single day, Monday through Friday. So it was just phenomenal that our staff and other people in the community, Katie and Stephanie, were able to come together so quickly and starting from day one, delivering those meals so those children didn't miss a meal while the school was closed. So that's all I had tonight.
Councilmember Garamella.
I agree with what Donna is saying. I think the amount of support from the community has been tremendous. Everyone is contributing in their own way. I know, like in my neighborhood, people are making masks and giving it and distributing free. The seniors are there picking up groceries and doing all the necessary things for them. I feel so blessed to be in this kind of a community that we are helping each other, and this is not done. This is a long way to go, and we got to do all that we can to make sure that our families are safe and are strong. So thanks to the entire staff and to the emergency services and to Brandon for sending those emails daily and giving us an update. I really appreciate it. And thanks to all the voluntary organizations which are working. HSNC is making close to 400 to 500 meals 3 to 4 times a day, 3 to 4 times a week. And so I know we can't do anything better, and I think social distancing is working. So I thank all the citizens and my fellow council and staff for all the work everyone has put in to get through this process. Thank you.
Councilmember Rao.
Thank you. I want to just follow up on Councilmember Garamella's comments, and my first words I want to begin my comments with today is just thank you. Thank you to the managers, the administration, the staff, my colleagues on the council, all the elected leaders from Governor Cooper all across the state, and the healthcare workers and those volunteers that are, make no mistake, we're in a war right now. And Surgeon General Adams said this is our Pearl Harbor moment, and it is our Pearl Harbor moment. But as our backs were against the wall, I've just been inspired by seeing all of you step out of your comfort zones to be strong. I've been so impressed with just what I call hometown heroes. The BAPS that delivered 1,095 masks to our first responders, 100 in Morrisville. The Hindu Society of North Carolina manufacturing masks. Councilmember Garamella talked about many, many other volunteers. Brought tears to my eyes when I found out that an 8th grader, Sahashira Kamberu, was actually manufacturing masks, an 8th grader at Davis Drive. And the Chinese American community, just so many heroes out there making our community strong. And I think that that's something that I take away from this experience. And I know that this war is taking a toll because this invisible monster is killing people, 55,000 in the United States, thousands and thousands in North Carolina. It's the #1 killer, COVID-19 in the United States. So I hope as the General Assembly convenes right now that they continue to work on resources that the local communities can get to fight this. And I hope that, Governor Cooper and the General Assembly will do everything they can to fight this monster. So a thank you to all of you. The second point I would make is the war is also an economic war. And I think I've sent an email to everybody, but I know many people are concerned about the small business community. I think that at some time in the future, maybe at the next council meeting or at the we could do a work session, or we could hear from staff on what the options are. I know Raleigh and Apex have done their own programs where they're providing money, and these are managed by funds that can actually review grants. Holly Springs and Fuquay did a model where they raised funds. So I don't know whether we could do something with the Morrisville Community Fund or the Morrisville Innovation Fund. But if you're in the business community today, I want you to know that I'm on my team and our team is listening to you. And this is going to be a devastating blow to the town of Morrisville. 55% of our revenue is commercial revenue. And I think we're all going to be looking closely at what these numbers are. But that's all I want to say tonight, is that I hope that we realize that when we get back to a new normal, our parks like Park West, some of these businesses, many restaurants, and we want to thank them for the takeout. I mean, they've been stepping up, serving and keeping the lights on, but the billions of dollars of federal money is going to run out. And, if they can't get an emergency disaster loan or a PPP protection money, they're probably going to go out of business. So, whatever we can do to help on that. So I'm just wanted to throw that out there. And the final thing is I'm hosting a virtual startup summit with some entrepreneurs, and the money, it's on Friday. I'll send an email out. The money's going to the COVID Hero Response Fund, and we've already raised about $700. So, but I just want to thank each of you, and that's all my comments for this evening. And I'm glad to see you all. I miss all of you, and hopefully we'll see you in person sooner than later. Thank you.
Councilmember Robati.
Yeah, 100% echo how much I miss you all. An introvert like me, that's saying quite a bit, but I do. I miss being able to get together with you all, fight in person. So I would like to start by thanking the staff for just the incredible way that they stepped up with no notice whatsoever to take basically the whole town virtual. The fact that they were able to pull that off is humbling. It's truly amazing that, now we have council meetings online and, advisory committee meetings online and staff meetings online, and the amount of work and really hard work that goes into that is amazing. So I'd like to thank our staff, our police, firefighters, EMTs, always there right on the front lines. Everything going off without a hitch has been also just inspiring. I wanted to mention, following up to Steve's point about the small businesses, that I think it's great the way that our community has stepped up to help our small businesses. We have in the Facebook group for my development, Breckenridge, we have a thread all about small businesses, who's still open, who's ordered from where, how it was, reminding people which businesses are still open. And you know, it's been really nice to see people saying, yeah, you know, I don't usually order out, but I order takeout from this place. I want to support a small business. And I love that supporting a small business has become just as much a goal for people as eventually getting out of this mess. So, yeah, so that's all I had, except I'd also like to thank my fellow council members for our discussion on the senior center. I hope that we'll always be the kind of council that can take an issue, talk it out, and then come to a consensus. I feel really good about that. Thank you.
Councilmember Scroggins Johnson.
Thank you. I would also like to express my sincere thanks to the council for their flexibility and resilience on this virtual meeting. This is our first one. I called it the premier event, and it really is pioneering our, way forward as we battle through this crisis. I would also like to thank our local leaders. We have leaders at every level, and near and dear to my heart are our teachers. They are definitely being impacted through the needs of all of our students. They can't interact in the same way, and yet they do soldier on and help the students learn. We are really supported by the Wake County School Board and reaching out and helping to bridge the gap that some students need to have in order to have their best learning environment. So I'm really grateful for our teachers and our Wake County School Board, and I hope that we're able to work together to keep all of our students learning and growing as we move through this crisis. I also want to thank the first responders, our essential workers, and of course our healthcare workers. This is a very trying time, and when you see people out and about, they probably are one of those groups of people that I've just talked about, and we need to thank them, and we need to be patient, and we need to smile and be grateful that we're here, because it could be a very difficult situation if we didn't have these individuals. I'm very grateful that our small businesses are getting some support. It seems like it's a very difficult time and a very confusing time at all levels of government. But if we work together and support our businesses incrementally, I think we're going to be better than we were before, and we'll probably be a lot more aware of who our small business owners are and how we can best help them. And finally, I am a little grateful, and this is a selfish grateful, that we don't have as many planes flying immediately above our town, but we do want to have those planes because that does mean that we are having active prosperity and business, but it is a hidden gem not to have as much noise in the Morrisville airspace as we have in the past. So enjoy your quiet for a few more weeks and stay home. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
So I think we're on a theme here, a thank you theme, and I'll try not to repeat everything you've all said because you've all done a fabulous job, but I do have lots of thanks. Thank you to my fellow council members because I miss you all dearly. You know I love being a part of a good working team, so that we are now virtual is fabulous for me as well. Thank you to our staff, especially police and fire that are on the front lines, but all our staff for everything you're doing. And you know, you've heard me say in the past how much I believe that the town of Morrisville is the most welcoming, diverse, and inclusive small town. Well, now I'm going to have to add caring to that list. I have always been proud to live in the town of Morrisville, and even prouder to be able to serve as one of the elected officials here in town. But I will tell you, I am equally, if not more, if it's possibly even prouder of our community in these days. It takes a crisis to show true character, and you are all correct. Our community shows how much they care about our business community, about our restaurants, about each other, about keeping each other safe. So I am even prouder to live here, if that's possible, than I ever was before. So big thank you to everyone, especially our citizens. And I just have one other comment to make, which is actually a sad note. We lost a very dear and valued member of our community at the end of March. Nina Wieland was a long-term resident here in Morrisville, and she was a long-standing member of our senior advisory committee. And I was devastated to recently learn that we lost her on March 22nd. She was battling cancer in the most recent time, and I am deeply sad to hear that news. She was a phenomenal woman, dearly loved this community, and loved being a part of our senior advisory committee. And so I want to extend my heartfelt sympathies to all those that knew Nina. I wish peace and comfort to her family, her friends, her neighbors, and most importantly, the members of our senior advisory committee that served with Nina for many, many years. Thank you.
Mayor Cawley.
Thank you, Eric. So Morrisville neighbors, this has been a very challenging time for all of us. I simply want to say thank you to everyone for the sacrifices you have made and that you will make in the future as we stay the course for the health and safety of everyone in our community. Thank you for staying home and supporting your town leadership, staff, first responders, frontline workers, and health staff as we balance the need for public safety and determining the pace of return to what will be our new normal. Keep looking for the good in others around you and nurture your ability to be strong so you can support others around you. We find ourselves in the service of others. Never has that been more true than in Morrisville. I see so many people stepping up to help others. In Morrisville, it is so very true. We are all in this together. So thank you. Our next item is item number 10, presentations. Jeannie Hooks, assistant to the town manager, will facilitate our CIP bond referendum development. Ms. Hooks.
Hello, everybody. I am working to get the right work session presentation up, so bear with me. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. All right. So good evening, everybody. I hope everyone's doing well and your families are safe. Tonight's discussion, in the interest of time, we've gone a little long, so I'm going to try to cut this a little bit shorter, but I do want to share some information to add some context to the slides. So tonight I want to make sure that we purposely take a pause to check on Council's position on moving forward with the bond referendum in 2020. Just some lessons learned from the past. It's important to ask these types of critical questions considering the state of things. So staff is seeking a response and a consensus from Council tonight on where do we go? Do we continue or do we need to take a pause? So I will pause actually on slide 6 for offering questions and comments to Council. So please make sure you're using your conversation box. Okay, so some things to consider. COVID impacts have changed the climate and the landscape of our community. Some things that we need to consider are that there are influences and that timing is everything. Does COVID really cause us to focus on prioritizing needs above wants at this time? We do need to consider protecting our operations as we are dealing with the impacts of COVID. It is a recession-like event, but it is not anything like the recession in 2009. But it does cause us to really ask ourselves, really what do we need to proceed with or not. Service expectations for core operations continue to be critically important to the community, and that's something we have to keep our eye on. We also need to recognize that public confidence has really changed during these circumstances. It can influence the timing of a bond referendum. It can be impactful when the economy is at an uncertain state. So we've reached out to our financial advisors and our bond counsel. Some important takeaways from these conversations, just to share with you, in addition to the bullet points that I have at the top, is to point out or to make clear that this is not a market or an interest rate concern question at this time. It's not that we're going to market to sell bonds. It's really, in talking with our financial advisors and our bond counsel, it's a perception or consumer confidence issue. We're asking voters for the authority to use GO bonds. It's a debt instrument with a proposed tax increment. Is it the right climate to do that? Is the question. Do we have enough time now to really educate and create advocacy for this ask of the voters? COVID closings have impacted really our timeline to effectively do that front-loaded engagement opportunity that council was interested in. While you're asking voters for an authority to use a debt instrument, they actually see this as you asking to spend on future projects with a tax rate increase in a time and a climate where the future is just uncertain. We don't have a playbook with COVID experience impacting our economy. What happens, really is the question, if voters deny the authorization? You don't get to use a GO bond as the instrument. The projects are still needed for the future. It sort of puts council potentially in a precarious state where voters are saying we're not voting or authorizing these particular projects, but council might need to proceed on some of these projects because they're very important. Timing and being sensitive to the influences of today are very important. So the core questions really become, can the community get behind this at this time? COVID closings have limited our opportunity to do good education and front-loaded outreach. It really limits us with that face-to-face communication that was so successful in 2012. And we're sort of limited to online engagement platforms and social media. Not to say that they can be successful as well. We do have, between now and May, decisions to make. June, we must report to the LGC what our considerations are, and we have to begin our process in June to start approving ballot language. Originally, we did discuss in 2020, did we want to do a bond referendum for 2020, or should it be in 2021? In some of our projects, like Fire Station 2 or public safety projects, council has already had the foresight to program appropriations in the amount of about $2.8 million to go ahead and fund this project or to get it started, so work can continue at this time. So the question becomes, should we move forward, or should we rethink really the pros and cons of our timing? So at this point, Mayor, I'm going to pause for questions and comments.
Okay, if anyone would like to make a question or a comment at this time, if you want to type into the chat, either of those, that would be good. You're going to be doing some more presentation, is that correct, Ms. Hooks, or are you looking for our general comments at this time?
No, I am looking for general comments at this time from council, a consensus, do we move forward or not? We do have ballot language from our bond counsel in hand, what they recommend based on council's feedback.
Okay, I see Mayor Pro Tem Liz Johnson would like to make a comment, and then Councilmember Rabati.
Yes, thank you. This is Liz. Thank you, Jeannie, for that quick overview. We've talked about this a lot, but it's been a number of weeks now. So thank you for giving us a quick update and remind us where we were. The fact that we don't report to LGC till June does that give us the ability to actually make this call maybe at our May 12th meeting? Because I know there's some discussion or some, not discussion, but there's some thought of maybe waiting to see the budget information before we actually kind of pull a trigger on the bond or not. And so, just to be straightforward, I have always advocated for the bond in 2020. That was my desire. I've advocated for this bond package. I've also advocated for us to have a strategic bond plan moving forward for future bonds. So it gives me great angst to say that I'm leaning toward maybe taking a pass this year in 2020. And I hate saying that out loud. But I also, at the same time, would love to be able to have some of the budget information so that I can truly weigh everything. So I guess that's a long way of saying, is this something we can revisit on May 12th?
So yes, Councilmember Urban Pro Tem Johnson, you could wait till May 12th to get that information from really what the budget recommendation might look like, and hear some of the conversation really around how it might be impacting our resources and what we're trying to do to preserve and protect our physical solvency and our core operations at this time.
Thank you.
Councilmember Robati was next to make a comment, please.
Yeah, Councilmember Johnson, Mayor Pro Tem Johnson, I 100% hear you, because I'm having the same dilemma. We discussed so many exciting projects and plans, and I guess I have a question, which is, what are the other options if we don't do a bond referendum this year? Are there other financial products available to us that would allow us to keep going with the plans that we're making, or are we just committing to status quo operations at this time?
Councilmember Robati, can you hear me?
Yes.
I can.
Is that better?
Still a lot of background.
A lot of feedback.
Okay. I will try to correct that in a minute. Let me try to address your question first. So there are other types of debt instruments. Installment financing would be the other one that is most commonly used outside of GO bonds. Installment financing has its limitations in that you have to have security pledges, meaning in some cases if you own a facility and you're trying to do renovations or improvements, that you can leverage in the installment financing the fact that you own the property as a security for the risk of that debt. Not all projects qualify for debt financing, or they can be difficult. One, for example, is land acquisition. So you don't actually own the land yet, but you're trying to finance it. So it's very different than maybe you getting a mortgage for your home. Municipal financing is structured very different. So that would be an example. Another one would be road improvements. You don't own the property for road improvements, and a lot of times installment financing can actually be difficult to accomplish there. Installment financing versus GO bond debt interest rates. Most of the time, the GO bond is the better approach and the easier solution if you can get voter approval.
Okay, thank you. Transportation projects were one of the things that I was specifically concerned about. Not the only one, but definitely on the list. So thank you.
Okay, our next comment is from Councilmember Vicky Scroggins Johnson, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Jeannie, are you the one with the background noise? Okay, I promise to stop talking and let you talk again. So I do support Mayor Pro Tem Johnson's suggestion about considering the bond in the framework of the entire budget. I really like that suggestion because I feel like I don't have enough information today, and we have slowed down. Instead of hourly changes to our environment, I think we're doing daily changes now. And my hope is by May 12th, we'll have a better picture of where we stand in as far as businesses, as far as the stay-at-home order, as far as where we are heading. And right now, there's so much uncertainty. I don't feel comfortable with asking for additional money from our residents because they have other considerations on their mind right now, and I'm not getting what I consider to have, good feedback. We don't have the ability to go and get focus group input like we had hoped initially when we were considering this bond, and I feel that is a real gap in our formulation and our planning for the bond as well. So May 12th, we might be able to have a better sense of where we are. We will also have that budget information, and I'm hoping that we will have, each of us will have an opportunity maybe to go out, of our home through, social distancing or, other communication channels to find out what our residents do want to see or are concerned about as it relates to budget and this bond. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Scoggins Johnson. Can you hear me better now? Okay.
Our next commenter was actually me, and then it'll be Councilmember Garamella. I understand I support the idea of revisiting on the 12th. And we are unable to do the outreach that we were hoping for, so I hope that each of us get a chance and an opportunity to connect with voters and our residents to determine how supportive they are for roadways and mobility and greenways and such, and public safety, which is really important. I believe that it's important for us to continue to move forward with our plans to improve the town, even with the uncertainty of COVID-19. Mobility, public safety, and parks will always be of high importance, and I think we're a bit behind in investing in each of those categories. I see this as an opportunity to demonstrate prudent leadership to keep our town moving forward, and it would be really helpful to have more budget numbers to see where we are to make sure that we can maintain core services while we continue to do this. And I believe that the costs associated with bond referendums are expended during the public engagement phase, which has not really begun, and when the bonds are executed. So I'm less concerned about moving forward for now because we're not expending funds and a whole lot of resources. Looking forward to the 12th to have a better idea. Thank you. Our next commenter is Councilmember Garamella.
Jeannie, I agree with the rest, is to get more information because many towns already are talking about how much revenue they're losing. So I think I'm expecting on May 12th that we would have those kind of numbers and then see how it's going to work with our budget for next year. Is it going to impact? Is it not? And then, take things to the next. But also, I was thinking about this a lot last night. It's a catch-22 here. I need this from the financial guys. Is this the good time to take a bond because the interest rates are low? Because our projects are not going away. We got to do all those projects, and they will be adding up. So how would they recommend, especially the government has funded so much into the bond market, that is this good at a lower price to get now, or basically a year later? Because my understanding is we get the interest rate only at the time we float the bond and not prior to it. So said that, how will it play out? That is something I wanted to know, like for May 12th. That's all my comments for now.
So I think in response to your comments, in talking with our financial advisors, again, this is not a question of the market and the interest rate at this time, because we wouldn't be selling the bonds or floating it, as you referred to, at this time. Now, but that said, they did indicate that bonds are selling. Some of them are going forward. They did indicate that the market was reacting to the COVID situation, meaning that it's sort of volatile. It has in the past week returned to some normalcy, but they foresee that it could quickly shift again. That's really the state of our economy right now. It's changing quickly depending on what's out there in the world of the consumers and what they're dealing with, or how we're changing our climate and environment at this time. But the question now for us, what impacts us, is really, can the voters support the ask to access this debt instrument? They have the authority to approve it or to deny it. And if denying it, it puts council in a particular place where you have to now make a decision. Do you continue forward with these projects that are important, knowing that the community has not supported that authorization for that debt instrument? Again, their perception is you're asking about the projects, even though technically you're asking for access to a debt instrument. And then it's a fact of the timing of educating the community and getting in front of what council wanted us to do, is front load that engagement conversation. There is not time for that based on the timeline that we have established to meet the November 2020. We can do some types of engagement, just not that front-loaded piece. We would be focusing really on the ballot language and what kind of projects really align to that.
Okay, our next commenter is Councilmember Rao.
Yeah, I think I'm open to getting more details on May 12th, but I'm really leaning towards focusing on the business continuity, the operations of the town, because I'm really concerned about the community having the ability to really get behind a bond during such uncertain times. And if we're not as confident that we can get the buy-in of the public, also last bonds we worked with the chamber and they've been going through some transitions over there. It is unfortunate that it could affect our momentum and priorities, but I think the reality of it is the context that we're making this decision. You're looking at over 700,000 North Carolinians out of work, many businesses having challenges, and that's affecting households just in terms of how much disposable income they have. So I'm going to go in, and I think I can't make that decision. I don't want to pull the plug tonight, but I'm very curious as to looking at what those numbers are. But for me, I think Councilmember Garamella had a great point. I mean, it is a catch-22, but in terms of the lower interest rates and, but I think another component of that is, do we have the complete confidence that we can put this out there and the voters would go all in with us to pass these bonds? So my priorities are transportation, obviously the fire station, high priority if we could make that happen without a bond, or maybe, we would take stuff off a bond that we would float. But that's all I have to say on that. I guess I'll wait till the 12th, but I'm right now leaning towards us to focus on business continuity and operations dealing with this pandemic right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next comment from Councilmember Fender, please.
Yeah, I'm in favor of postponing the decision to May 12th so we can get some more information. I also want to use that time to talk to additional people in the neighborhood and in the town, just to get their feedback, what their thoughts are, before we just pull this off the table, because we think maybe the public might not be interested in going forward with this, because I hate to miss this opportunity, because it is so important for us to invest in road infrastructure and land acquisition to save some of our green space. So I would just like to, I'm not ready to say, no, let's stop pursuing this. I'd like to wait till May 12th and get some additional data by then.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I would just add for our thoughts is that if we are trying to reach out to people, we have pretty incomplete information right now. We don't know what kind of tax increment it would be or what years. So I would hope that staff can bring back the initial package that they've already prepared and showed us, the general package, if they were to break that down into different pieces and the things that could be installment financing, like the power stations, for example, and have the other two be bond candidates, what that might look like. And then at that point, when we have the information about when it might affect people's taxes, that would be good to know and maybe push the decision out even further. Because if we're asking people now if they support it and say that there might be a tax increment change, the tax increment change isn't instantaneous. It's a year or two down the road when we actually let the bonds. So I want to make sure that when we're getting information from our residents, we're providing all the information they need to make an informed decision. So that's just my thought. Does anyone have any final thoughts on this item before we take a break? Looking in the comment bar. Okay, hearing none. Right now it's 7:55. We're going to take a slightly abbreviated break to try and make up a little time. So we'll take a 5-minute break. We'll reconvene at 8 p.m. Our next item is item 10B, Crabtree Creek Nature Park Design. That'll be presented by Jerry Allen. So we are adjourned for 5 minutes. Thank you. Thank you all. We are back in session. We are on item 10B at this time, Crabtree Creek Nature Park Design Update. I'd like to recognize Jerry Allen, our Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Resources Director, to facilitate our discussion. Mr. Allen.
Good evening, everyone. It's great to see you all again. It's been quite a while, so I'm glad we're able to get back together. Tonight's presentation is something we've been looking forward to for a while, and that is an update on the design process for Crabtree Creek Nature Park. As you all know, we signed a contract with CLH Design last fall to do this design work, and they were able to get started over the winter. Our project manager, Lauren Dixon, is with us tonight from CLH to also go over how they've been progressing on the project and answer questions and share some information with you. So where we'd like to start is a little bit of background information just to refresh everyone's memory. Here we go. Sorry, it took just a second to get it started. The property in question, town acquired in 1999. When we acquired the property initially, we looked at it with the hope of being able to program it for some mix of uses, some active uses as well as passive. Obviously, as we went through our investigation of the site back in 2001, we learned about flood easements and more information about that. And so the theme of the park changed to more of a nature park. At that time, we'd hoped for a staff nature center, shelters, playgrounds, parking lots to support that use. But over time, through several master plan updates and capital improvement plan updates, that original concept has evolved and changed slightly. And so what we had adopted in the 2018 Parks and Recreation Master Plan no longer had a staffed facility in it. It was more of a passive, self-led type program. So the 2018 master plan also included a citizen survey and analysis of our existing facilities. And out of that work came a priority investment rating that was adopted as part of our master plan. And what that does is help lead us and guide us in what facilities that we need to be looking for to help serve our community. So in that rating, nature parks came in at number 2 of a most needed facility. It was actually tied with greenways, which, you know, are similar, only behind an indoor pool. And council chose to move ahead, obviously, as you know, with the indoor pool at Morrisville Aquatic and Fitness Center. And so staff, following the master plan, requested funding last year to start design of the Crabtree Creek Nature Park. And CLH was brought on under contract in the fall to start that process. So they've done a lot of great work, and Lauren will tell you more about that in a moment. And they've reached what they call conceptual levels for the design, and we want to update council on that and get feedback from you. So does anyone first have any questions on any of the background before we move into the project design, and I'll turn it over to Lauren? Okay. Hearing none, then Lauren, we'll let you take over and you can go through the project design portion.
Okay. Well, can everybody hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Good evening. I'm really excited to be able to present this project to you. My name is Lauren Dixon. I am a landscape architect with CLH Design. We are the lead consultant, as Jerry said, for this project. We have other sub-consultants with us, and we have been tasked with furthering this design of this park and going all the way through construction documents and permits. So tonight I'm going to kind of go through a brief introduction of the site. I know that you guys have seen these slides, so I don't want to spend too much time reading bullet points to you that you already know, but I would like to kind of go over them a little bit more in depth. And I'll go through what the park program is, present the site analysis, and where we are with conceptual design. I'll take a pause at the end to answer questions if you've got them. So this project, let me see if it'll let me advance here, is 2 parcels of property. The first parcel is probably what you know is the existing kind of Crabtree Creek Nature Park. It's 33.75 acres, and the second parcel is 3.15 acres. The majority of the 33.75 acre parcel is located within a flood easement that restricts development basically to an elevation to handle the flood waters from the lake. So the 3.15 acre parcel is not within that flood easement. The existing site has a youth cricket field, parking lot with about 32 parking spaces, and an existing greenway connector trail that goes through it. So this is an aerial showing the existing park site. You can see this open cleared space that I'm pointing at with the mouse here is where those cricket fields are. This small piece right here is the existing parking lot. This is the parcel, about that 3 acre parcel that is not within the flood easement. It's not letting me use my keyboard, so I apologize if it's a little slow. That's a zoom in showing kind of where that existing greenway trail kind of comes in and connects up to the parking lot and up to the street out at Key Bridge Drive. The approved 2018 concept plan included the amenities that you see, and this was the approved program and what we have based our conceptual design on. So a park restroom shelter facility, play lawn, an inclusive playground. It's got 2 different types of gardens, sensory garden and demonstration garden, stormwater control measure, trails, interpretive and educational signage, and then realigning that existing greenway connection. So this is that approved master plan. And so you can see all of those key elements and kind of where they were located within that master plan. And our team's been tasked with further developing this. So we have taken a look at sustainability further as we've gone through this process. These are design elements that are within the project now. So the building orientation has been located on an east-west axis for the best daylighting and shading. We're looking at recycled and renewable materials as we further detail these plans. Looking at things like what the coatings and paints are. Low flow plumbing fixtures, instantaneous hot water heaters. Sensors are very helpful in these park programs, from daylight sensors to motion sensors. And then in the landscape, we're talking about water-wise landscaping as well as native plant material. We've also looked at this site from a tree preservation perspective. Our survey that we've had performed included a tree survey that identified, I think, everything 3 inches and up on this site. And so we've looked at the trail routing to kind of avoid the larger trees that are on this site, and looking at doing the parking areas and higher impact development on the areas that are existing cleared space or are more successional forest. So that the concept design that I'll show to you a little bit later preserves about 90% or so of that existing wooded area on site. Most of the trees that are being removed are really for the higher impact, so it'll be for the building and the playground. And again, like I said, that's a successional forest, so that means it's usually mostly pines with smaller hardwoods and some understory trees. We've also looked at solar panels on this site. Park facilities typically have minimal electric demand, particularly if you do daylighting. You can naturally light one of these facilities without having to use electricity very frequently. So they may not be, you know, the greatest efficiency, but it's definitely something that we're looking into as we further detail the plans. The building, I'm going to kind of jump into the building program and size. It's about 40 by 120. The building design does have space for educational displays. This is a nature park, but we don't have a nature center per se as a part of this building structure. So our design has really looked at how can we bring those educational elements outside and into the landscape, and kind of including space for signage and interpretation on the building and throughout the site. There's about 800 square feet of restroom, 1,625 square feet or so of shelter. The remaining space within the building is for the chase and electrical and mechanical and things like that. The building has been designed with 4 individual restrooms. They are accessed from each side of the building, and I can point that out when I pull up the master plan and show you kind of how that flow works. And all of those restrooms are accessible. We've really taken the idea of inclusivity as far as we can with this design. So we're also actually looking at going above and beyond the minimum accessible requirements, trying to think about user groups that maybe need more than just what that minimum requirement is. So if you have a child that's larger, or you have equipment that you need to bring into a restroom with you, looking at putting a built-in bench that provides a sturdier changing option, or a place to set belongings, or for a family member to sit. We've enlarged 2 of the restroom spaces just to provide more room if someone needs to be in one of those restrooms and have someone help them, so that they've got more room to maneuver. But all of them are sized to meet the minimum accessibility requirements with added space for fold-down changing tables. Going on to the next, hang on a second. Okay, so this is the concept that you'll see here. So the building has restrooms that can be accessed from both. The playground is located on this side of the building with the open kind of lawn on this side, and there are 2 restrooms accessed on either side of that building. And then there's the space for the picnic tables. And now I'm going to jump into kind of some of the site analysis on this project. So this site, the initial concept plan, had an area that was noted for wetlands, but when we got our environmental scientists out on site and our surveyor out on site, there's a lot more wetlands on this site than I think was originally known. So what you see in that dark green on your screen is all wetlands, existing wetlands on site. Those have been already reviewed by the Army Corps of Engineers, and they are determined to be wetlands. The dark blue dashed line that you see is the floodway on site, and that hatch is showing all the area on this site that is within that floodway. So the floodway is an area that the creek basically uses to handle that kind of first flash flood event. So that's an area that we've really kept development out of. And then the yellow that you see are stream buffers. So the back property line is the Crabtree Creek, but you can see we also have stream buffers interior to the site and one that traverses the site. This next plan is showing you where there are existing utilities. There is an existing gas line and an existing sewer line that parallel each other and kind of run along where the Crabtree Creek is. There is also existing sewer line that traverses the site perpendicular to the creek. And we have a storm drainage easement that's right off Keybridge Avenue. And basically, a majority of the stormwater from this adjacent development is coming through that stormwater pipe that you see there. And this is a compilation of kind of showing what the developable area is. It kind of takes all of those factors into account. You can still see where that dashed blue line is for the floodway, where the utilities are located, the streams, but this purple color that you see is kind of what you're left with on this site that would be considered developable. You can do trails outside of that. So what I mean by developable is your buildings, your impervious surface, your playgrounds, those amenities. And this is the conceptual site rendering. The main goal in this whole project was looking at this as being the town's first nature park, and kind of highlighting those educational opportunities. So you can see we've got the building located here on that smaller parcel, that about 3-acre parcel. The existing parking, and I will zoom in on this on the next slide. I'm going to give you an overview right now on this slide. The existing parking lot remains, and we've added to that. The rest of the open lawn area becomes meadow. We have room for a stormwater control measure, which we are proposing as a constructed wetland at this point. And then there is a trail that leads off into where the natural wetlands are with a boardwalk loop. You can see that a little bit better here on the zoom in. You can see how the trail comes out here. Here's where this boardwalk loop is, the constructed wetland as you come back in. The main kind of purpose of and flow of this site is the building has been designed to kind of capture rainwater and channel it to this side of the building. We're looking at a rain garden and a series of rain gardens to capture that rainwater and really provide educational opportunities for people to highlight that and understand that water. It will flow into this rain garden, which will then be piped into a garden that's the center of the parking lot, and then that will be piped into the constructed wetland. We think it's a really kind of a great juxtaposition between a constructed wetland and a natural wetland, and talking about how we use these natural systems to treat our stormwater and to kind of get the impurities out of that. The playground's located out towards a Keybridge. It's not right at the street, but it's on that side of the building. There would be restrooms that could be accessed from that side. And then the multi-purpose lawn is on the other side, with the greenway kind of being realigned so that it comes around the corner and pulls it away from the parking lot and out to Keybridge. You can see this all a little bit further in this zoom in here. Okay. This is showing, again, that aerial that we showed earlier to walk you through kind of where these elements would be. So you can see this existing parking. If you can imagine, we've added on another bay of parking that's back in this area. Then the rest of this open field as it exists now, we're proposing to be turned into meadow. Again, that brings out an educational opportunity about pollinators that can tie in with the native plants that we would also use within the constructed wetland. The building is being placed in this general vicinity here. It kind of lines up with that center rain garden piece that's in the parking lot, playground being out towards Keybridge, and the open lawn being at the back portion. And this kind of overlays those on top of each other so you can kind of see what's happening on that existing site. I did want to note, I'm going to back up one slide here. If you look at this aerial, you can kind of see this was actually flown in the winter. So you can see the green trees that you're seeing are pine trees, whereas you can see the leaves aren't on the hardwood trees. So most of this area really is more successional forest than the rest of the site. And at this point, I'm going to open it up to questions.
See, Councilmember Rabadi has a question, please.
Oh, sorry. I think I was muted. Can you hear me now?
We can.
Okay. Would you mind going back one slide to the one that showed the tree? Yeah. Okay. So I'm not really clear from this slide how you're intending to pull off only cutting down 10% of the trees, because it looks like every place that you're putting something, there's already trees, and the cricket field is going to be a parking lot. Like, can you just kind of explain to me exactly? Could you just address that somehow? I feel like I just don't understand where that 10% is coming from.
Certainly. Happy to do that. So I'm going to back it up to the overall site. This is the entire site. So you're looking at 34, 37 acres. We're clearing this.
Got it. Okay.
Does that help?
I guess I wasn't. Yeah, it really does. I guess I wasn't looking at it in context. Thank you.
Councilmember Fender, is there any particular slide you wanted to see zoomed in more, and you have a question?
Yes, I have a question. I was wondering, can you, I think it was slide 23. Can you zoom in on that slide a little more and go over again? When you were pointing out like where the meadow was, where the rain garden, it was on a slot picture that was more zoomed out.
Sure. So here's the main shelter structure here. And we're talking about all of that water coming off that roof line and flowing into this kind of colorful space here as a rain garden. This is the parking lot drive, so that would then be piped into the rain garden, which is the island, the large island that's between those two bays of parking. And then it would flow from there into the constructed wetland, which is on the other side of the trail that goes kind of past the meadow.
Okay. And then where's the playground on this slide?
This large area right here on this side of the shelter. You can see kind of the dark line that's coming through here. That would be the greenway realigned. And then all this colorful area that's divided by paths would be the playground space.
And that area that's kind of framed as a triangle, is that part of the playground?
This center piece here?
Yes.
Right now, our concept is that this would be kind of an extension of this rain garden, but in a more playful form, something like a dry riverbed or something like that, that children could interact with and start to begin to understand the stormwater coming off that playground.
And what's the purpose of the constructed wetland area?
We will be required to treat stormwater per the town's UDO, and that will be that the purpose of that is to treat the stormwater coming off the paved surfaces.
Okay. What is there any opportunity there to use that for educational purposes?
Yes, ma'am, definitely.
Okay.
There definitely would be. And it's a really neat juxtaposition because if you go back, let me zoom back out here. So this is a stream buffer that's existing here. This is your constructed wetland. And then when you follow this trail out, you get to the natural wetlands. So it's a really unique experience to have both a built one and a natural one on the same site.
Great. I like that. That's all I had with questions. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Rao, please, and then Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
I'm fine with the design. I don't really have any questions about that. I just was curious, and it might even be for Rick Ralph if he's there. When it said, or maybe Jerry Allen, the motion sensors and occupancy sensors, are those tied to our smart city assessment in terms of just the sensors that are going to be in these parts? Could you elaborate on what those mean? Motion sensors.
So this is on our sustainability side. I don't know if I can speak to your smart city piece of this, but typically we use sensors in restroom buildings because they're not a high occupancy building that's, got people in them all the time. So it allows you to set the motion sensors so that the lights come on and they're not on all the time. Okay. The daylight sensors would allow you, because the way this building is designed, let me get you to the rendering. I don't know if you can see this right here, but this is basically clear story to allow in natural daylighting. So you wouldn't have to have the lights on a sunny day like we did today, a gorgeous day like that. So those daylight sensors would allow you to have kind of triggered only using electricity when you really need to.
Okay, I think the reason I asked my question, that makes sense, because I know that we're working with some, vendors on terms of like sensors in our parks when there's flooding, where people would be notified. And I know in the past we've looked at some vendors that had sensors where you could track foot traffic in the park. So maybe that's something that we can look at a separate issue. Just when I saw the notion sensors, it triggered that thought. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Rao. Mayor Pro Tem Johnson, please.
Thank you. So just a quick comment. First of all, I am incredibly excited about the educational opportunity that we have on this site. The fact that we have the ability to have citizens interact in almost every piece of this park is really exciting to me, and this is unique for what we have here in town. So I just want to say that right out front. The inclusive playground, the sensory garden, the demonstration garden, these are all just incredible features. And for those of us that have walked this site, it is just beautiful. Yes, it's wet way in the back, but that has an opportunity and a beauty of its own. So I'm really excited about this. I would like, Lauren, if you could just put up that second slide you had on sustainability items.
Sure.
Yep, that's the one. Thank you. I wanted to, okay, so there's no mention of any kind of hands-free opportunity. I don't know what else to use. And what I mean by hands-free, I'm thinking about the doorways, the soap dispensers, and the bathroom. Are we thinking about hands-free? And of course, clearly now we're in COVID-19 era, and that kind of matters these days. So I'm just curious if that's. And that's not really a or it could be part of a sustainability item, but hands-free, if you could.
I mean, I think that's a great idea. I think it's something that we typically, when it comes to soap dispensers and paper towel dispensers and things like that, we typically ask town staff what they use in their other parks. It usually has to do with how they are maintained, whether they're service contracts or so forth. So things are similar throughout their parks. We're definitely willing to explore that. We're not at that level of detail currently, but I think that's a very good point. I think that there'll be dialogue about the water fountain here potentially only being a bottle fill rather than one that you drink out of, things like that. So yes, I think that's definitely something we can consider as we further the design.
Great, that would be fabulous. And then just the last comment I have right now, question. Are you, Lauren, familiar with the art museum out off of Blue Ridge Road here in Raleigh?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so then you're really familiar with the stormwater control measures they use out there and how that, they have rain gardens and they have wetlands and they have, I think, an example of probably practically every stormwater control measure you can think of is, and I love that, by the way. That is beautiful. It's unique. It is just a fabulous way of
Okay, we are now back. We are at item 10C on our agenda, the Morrisville Smart Shuttle Project update. Benjamin Howell, our long-range planning manager, will facilitate our discussion. Mr. Howell.
Good evening, Council. Let me just get control here. All right. So this is just a quick update on our Smart Shuttle project. There we go. So as you all may remember, the Smart Shuttle was recommended in the 2019 Public Transportation Study. The study report was presented in October of 2019, and both the report and the presentation were included in the briefing item as attachments. The Smart Shuttle project has the purpose of providing alternative mode of transportation for Morrisville residents to get around town, and it will provide access to shopping areas, residential neighborhoods, schools, community facilities, and connection on their transit services. The Smart Shuttle is a little bit of a unique design in that it will serve specific bus stops that we are calling nodes, but it will serve those nodes on demand. And the node locations are recommended based on transportation patterns, public planning and zoning board, and council feedback. The Smart Shuttle will, as I mentioned, operate as an on-demand service, where the idea is the riders would use a mobile application on their phone to order a ride from one node to another node, and then the app would provide riders real-time location of the Smart Shuttle and as well as projected wait times. The public transportation study recommended 19 node locations shown on this map here. So we submitted the project for funding for Wake Transit from their community funding area. As we have been working on the details of the project and working with our proposed service provider, which is Go Carry, we have narrowed the number of nodes from 19 down to 15 from those that were recommended in the study. The 4 nodes we removed were removed to keep service both within the town limits and also to serve nodes expected to be most used by town residents. One thing to keep in mind is that the service is very flexible and can be expanded to additional nodes in future years. The Smart Shuttle project that we've submitted, we propose to begin operating the shuttle in June of 2021 with service planning, capital, and infrastructure work completed between July of 2020 and June of 2021. Some of that work includes purchasing of the technology backbone for the service, as well as construction of infrastructure at some of the nodes. Keep in mind, though, at a minimum, all nodes will have signage, bus stop pads, and any necessary sidewalk improvements to provide connectivity. We'll also be working on marketing the new service and then, of course, training residents on how to use the service and the associated technology. So this is the 15 node map that we are proposing for the Smart Shuttle service. A couple of important things to note here is that we are proposing to serve the regional transit center, which would provide direct connection to the Go Triangle routes that run throughout the region, as well as we would provide service to Wake Tech, Perimeter Park, Park West Village, and most of our residential neighborhoods. We're also proposing to serve the 2 temples located along Aviation Parkway. The project costs, we have mapped out the proposed project cost over the next 5 fiscal years. As you can see from this table, the total project cost over 5 fiscal years would run approximately $2.7 million, with the town funding approximately $1.8 million of that. The community funding area funds that we're proposing to use provide a 50% match to the town funds. You will note in FY22 through FY25, we are proposing some additional capital funding that at this point is just proposed to be town funds. However, staff will continue to look for opportunities to leverage those funds in the future if we need to do additional capital. And just a little bit more detail on the proposed project, the proposed capital cost. In year 1, or this coming fiscal year, node construction of approximately 5 nodes We would also work on the node supporting infrastructure such as sidewalk connections, bus stop pads, the technology, marketing, and rider training. In years 2 through 5, we would be constructing anywhere from 1 to 4 nodes depending on the year and the funding approved. All nodes will have a minimum of a sign and a bus stop pad. But for most of our nodes, we have 2 types of it, what we're calling improved nodes, standard nodes and advanced nodes. The study document identified 2 advanced nodes. And so in FY21, we're proposing to construct 1 of those advanced nodes and then 3 to 4 standard nodes. However, we do expect ultimately to construct 3 to 4 advanced nodes by 2025. The advanced nodes would be located at stops expected to have higher ridership, and we will be evaluating that ridership to determine the location of those advanced nodes. The overall goal of the project, though, is to construct most nodes, most of the node locations to be at the minimum standard nodes. And this next slide will show you the difference between standard and the advanced nodes. So as you can see, the standard nodes would have a bench as well as potentially lighting, signage, and trash and recycling bins. The advanced nodes, the primary difference would be a shelter and potentially advanced signage, possibly even interactive signage, depending on the location. The Community Funding Area program is within the Wake Transit Plan, and it was designed to partially fund transit projects in municipalities as a grant program, providing up to 50% matching funds. Campo manages this program with the funding coming directly from Go Triangle as operating as a Wake County Transit Tax District. Staff submitted the application for the Community Funding Area funding in December 2019, and we have received word that we have been conditionally approved for the funding, or conditionally recommended for the funding back in February, and we are providing some additional information to the selection committee for them to finalize their decision in May. With the service we're proposing, as I mentioned before, we're proposing it to be provided by Go Carry, and it is proposed to be fare free. We're proposing that the service would operate 7 days of the week, with hours of operation sometime between approximately 7 a.m. and 9 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and most likely around 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday. These operating times are subject to change. That's one of the things we are working with Go Carry to finalize. We do expect to have 2 shuttles running during peak times to reduce the wait time, and then 1 shuttle running during the rest of the day. On the weekdays, we expect those peak times to be the morning and afternoon rush hours, and then on the weekends, we expect those peak times to be midday and the evening hours. So staff is continuing to work with Go Carry staff to finalize the service design, and we are examining ways to engage the public on the service design in late spring or early summer this year. One of the next steps that we'll be working on is developing an agreement framework with the town of Cary, or Go Carry, for the provision of service, and we expect that to be complete in May or June. If town council were to approve funding for the Smart Shuttle in the town's FY21 budget, then we would also move forward with execution of the funding agreement with Campo and Go Triangle, as well as execution of the service agreement with Go Carry. And then we would begin procurement of the technology backbone for the service, as well as getting ready to work on all the capital infrastructure needs. So as far as the agreement framework, some more information about that. It will include service design, such as operating hours for the service, setting out the times when 2 shuttles will be in use versus 1, finalizing the service map, and then working out the service cost and payment schedule. As a reminder, the service is proposed to be fare free, funded only by Wake Transit and town funds. So the payment schedule would really be the expectation of Go Carry of when the town would be paying Go Carry for the service. The CFA selection committee asked for some additional information. which will also be addressed in the agreement framework, and that's what staff is working on finalizing right now. Some of that additional information includes customer service and marketing responsibilities, the process which will follow for the technology procurement, public engagement for the service and the technology specifically, as well as service monitoring and tracking. The Wake Transit CFA program does include performance requirements for new service. Those include ridership with a goal of 1.5 passengers per revenue vehicle hour and operating costs per passenger of $30. The Smart Shuttle service is expected to meet or exceed the performance requirements. The CFA program requires any service that is funded with CFA funds to report performance every year. However, we are not required to meet the performance standards until year 3. In year 3 and 4, the service has to meet a percentage of the performance requirements, with all requirements being met by year 5. However, if we do not meet those requirements, what is required by the program is consultation with Campo staff and possible service changes if the service is not meeting performance requirements. It is not a automatic loss of funding. It is really just get together with Campo staff and see how the service can be changed to have it meet those performance requirements. If after year 5 the service does not meet the requirements, the Campo does withhold the right to recommend decreasing the funding to 30% of the project cost from 50%. As far as potential for service cancellation, Campo cannot decide unilaterally to cancel the funding. They have to recommend to the Wake Transit governing boards to have the funding be canceled, to cancel the service. And that will only be done if the projects fail to meet the standards and expectations in the funding agreement. And again, the program is very clear in that cancellation is only going to be recommended if corrective actions are not implemented. Campo will not recommend cancellation of projects due to failure to meet performance requirements unless the project sponsor requests cancellation. And any projects funded by Wake Transit that are canceled through the CFA program are eligible to reapply once issues that led to cancellation are resolved. And as always, the town may also choose to cancel the project. These projects are on a reimbursement basis, so there really is no ongoing financial obligations. And we do have a funding agreement that is only 1 year long, so that funding agreement would be updated and renewed every year. And with that, I'll be happy to take any council questions or comments.
Councilmember Rao, you had a comment.
Yes, excellent presentation. I'm really excited about, transportation mobility as being one of our #1 priorities, and I think this is so great, and I think it ties in well too for our theme of innovation and being a smart town. So thank you so much. My only comment, well, it's just a question and a comment, is, Benjamin, I've been keeping up reading that the COVID-19 crisis is going to force DOT in this fiscal year to be short $300 million, which is pushing a lot of local projects behind. Do you know of any information out there about what the impact would be on the Campo funds, the Wake Transit funds, and how that could potentially affect the 50% match for this?
Actually, that was discussed quite a bit through the Wake Transit program. A couple of the subcommittees that met to discuss the work plan for this coming up year. What the subcommittees decided to do with the work plan is essentially, yes, there is a significant impact to the Wake Transit program with the expected reduction in sales tax revenues. However, with that, the community funding area funding has been set aside in the work plan and is actually fully funded. So even though other projects that were originally proposed to be in this work plan are being held off for a little while to see what the full effects of the sales tax revenue drop is, the CFA projects are recommended to continue with and move forward with funding from the beginning of the fiscal year, July 1.
Yeah, and I know Councilmember Garamella may have some insight because he serves on the Go Triangle committee. I think he attended a meeting last week, but you know, I think that's something that we should keep a close eye on. Thank you.
Councilmember Scroggins Johnson, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I unmuted myself, sorry. I really like this proposal and I appreciate staff's hard work, and I know we've been wanting to start something for several years now. The fact that we have 50% of the funding from another source is a tremendous win for the town of Morrisville. Cooperating with Go Carry and the other parties is very important as well. So I'm very much in favor of moving this forward. I was thinking when I was reviewing this item that we're trying to start a mass transit or a smart shuttle program in the middle of a pandemic, but the execution or when the first person probably takes a shuttle won't be until next summer. So we will have plenty of time to kind of see, what is the best practice going forward for transit options like this. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Scroggins Johnson. That's a very important point that it'll be well into the future before we have our first passengers. Ben, if you could go back a few slides to where you were talking about how it rolls out and how many bus stops will be operational next July of 2021.
Yes.
I think it was a couple of slides further. You're saying that we're just going to do a couple of the nodes to start?
So that's actually that's addressing the construction. So we will only construct one advanced node and probably around 3 standard nodes as far as improved with a bench or a shelter. But every node, all 15 nodes on that on this map, or not this one, sorry, on all 15 of these nodes would be served starting from day 1 of the service. It's just not all of them may have a bench or a shelter. There will be a number of them, a majority of them may only have a concrete pad and a bus stop sign.
Great. And since we're having sidewalks for connectivity, tell me more about a bus stop pad and the need for that if there was only going to be 1 or 2 people waiting.
The bus stop pad, when we say that, really we're talking about filling in the utility strip essentially between the back of curb and sidewalk so that it's a flat surface for folks to get off the bus. The bus pulls up to the curb and they have a flat, solid surface to step off on instead of having to step into the street or step into grass.
Okay, that makes sense. And is there going to be any public input opportunities to identify exactly where the bus stops will be? Right now we have Kids Creek or Perimeter Park. How much input will residents have?
For exact stop location, we have not envisioned having really gathering much citizen input on exact stop location. We're more concerned with the overall area. In a lot of these areas, there's not, I guess from our point of view, there's not necessarily a lot of options for exactly where the stop would go. Certainly in the residential areas, we're primarily looking at areas directly adjacent to clubhouses. So for Kids Creek, it would be very close to their clubhouse. Breckenridge, we're looking at an area very close to their clubhouse. And then in the commercial areas, it would be in the area that makes the most sense. And that's where we will be working closely with Go Carry as a service provider to see what makes the most sense for getting the bus in and out without having to turn around.
Okay, I just think our residents would appreciate the opportunity to share their thoughts at some point during the process about where the stops will actually be. So I think that might be helpful. I had another thought, and was that this node may eventually, depending on which nodes are really well used, evolve into a fixed route system. That is an initial thought.
Yeah, that is one of the nice things about this type of system is we will be able to monitor the ridership, and ultimately, if we do see that there is a distinct pattern and that the ridership numbers get to a certain level, we could certainly convert the service over to a fixed route. But I will say one of the interesting things we found out with talking with some of the technology providers out there who provide technology for this type of service is that there's actually a lot of transit systems now are converting their fixed routes to this type of service because it is a little bit more flexible, and the customers seem to really appreciate it.
Okay, that's wonderful. So I like the idea of the standard nodes, but in order to have flexibility, I'm not necessarily thinking that we need them, especially given the app tells you when the bus is coming, so people can time that. I don't expect there'll be a lot of people waiting for long times at the stops. So if there's an opportunity to have discussions about whether or not we need standard or advanced nodes in the first year or two, or whether or not we should just let the app dictate, that would be something I'd be interested in investigating further or having discussions. Those were my questions. I believe that Councilmember Scroggins-Johnson has a question. Ms. Scroggins-Johnson?
Trying to unmute, sorry. So I thought nodes with just a standard node platform and everything would still meet ADA requirements, and they would have, you know, the cement pad so that people could access the bus, you know, easier or in a compliant way. Is that correct?
Yes, so all the nodes will be ADA. We do envision all the nodes to be ADA compliant. We want them to be ADA compliant. Really, the standard nodes are the primary addition. There is a bench and possibly trash can, recycling can to provide someplace for someone who does want to or need to wait for a few minutes. And to address the mayor's question about the construction of standard nodes, we are, one of the reasons we're proposing to construct several nodes up front is to show that there is some town investment in this, and also to provide, you know, where we are being selective on where we would construct those nodes, but also we do want to provide a little bit of a better service level up front to show the residents and citizens that we are investing in this service.
Very good. And is there any way to have like solar panels or some sort of, you know, with not the regular, but the enhanced one, to have some sort of service or signage that, you know, you mentioned upgraded signage. Would that mean electronic signage, or would that just mean standard signage? Because you could have different messages to the people that are waiting, like incoming 5 minutes, you know, 10 minutes, that kind of thing.
Yes, and that's this picture is actually directly out of the study, but that is one of the things that the study did mention as a possibility for the advanced node is that real-time signage. And so obviously, depending on where we would look at putting that node, where we would look at constructing the advanced node, and how much electrical things we would put in it, whether it's real-time signage and lighting and other things, we would look at opportunities there for, you know, if solar panel makes sense, or if there's, you know, some of it may depend on how close an electrical connection is. If there's not one close, then maybe we can look at solar panels. I know a lot of the other transit agencies in the area for some of their larger shelters now are starting to, you know, try and look at that, at putting solar in. So that's certainly something we would want to look at.
Wonderful. Thank you. I'll yield my time to the other council members that are in queue.
Councilmember Garamella, and then Mayor Pro Tem Johnson, please.
Hey, Benjamin, good presentation. I had a question about what kind of buses are these? Are these electric buses or like, is it like a big capacity bus like this Go Triangle, or a smaller one because we are doing only node to node, right? It's not like a, having a full size bus is not full efficiency of our money.
Correct. Yeah, we have envisioned this service to be utilizing what we call cutaways, which are the smaller Go Carry buses where the front of the bus looks more like a van or a truck, and they usually hold approximately 18 to 22 people, but they're also more maneuverable.
So do they have like where they can person can bike to this node and put their bike onto the bus and go with it?
I believe a lot of the carry buses do have the bike racks on the buses. Yes, sir.
Okay. And do we know what kind of a cost is for the ridership? Because I didn't get a feel of that.
We haven't quite gotten all the cost numbers together yet to determine what our ridership cost will be. The Wake Transit program does, for their performance requirement, they have an operating cost of $30 per passenger. So I do expect that we should meet that, if not exceed that. But it may take a year or two until we get some ridership numbers up in order to meet that requirement.
So the $30 is per hour per bus, right? That's the cost of operating. Is that the way I say? Is it like, or per person it's 30? It
would be per person. So with operating cost per passenger, the more passengers you end up carrying, the lower your operating cost per passenger becomes.
So this particular one, I didn't quite understand when you said 1.5 passengers per revenue per vehicular hour. So I was under the assumption that it is like that is 30, or is it? So I'm trying to understand how this works.
I understand. So revenue vehicle hour is a little bit of a term of art for transit, and essentially that is the revenue vehicle hour is every hour that the bus is in revenue service, meaning that it's in, for us, it would be every hour the bus is in service and able to pick up or drop off passengers. And so what that, for example, if our service starts at 8 a.m. in the morning, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. is one revenue vehicle hour. And so as long as we had 1.5 passengers in that hour, we would be meeting the Wake Transit performance requirements. And of course, that's averaged out over all the all the hours that service operates.
So then what is we are talking about the operating costs for the town or Wake County, but what about the passenger? How much would they be paying?
And we're proposing that the passengers would not have to pay anything. It would be a fare-free service. And that was directly out of that was one of the recommendations directly out of the study document, because as the study points out, charging a fare up front, charging a fare is a good way to decrease your demand somewhat. But if you want to have, if you want to induce your demand, providing the service free encourages many more people to ride it.
Okay, so this is and that's kind of like a sale incentive. We give free for the first 2 years and then we charge it, or is it like the 5 years we're not charging anything?
That's a decision that we can make later on. We have, like I said, the service has been envisioned to be fare free. We certainly can, if we see that there's a high demand for it and we need to reduce that demand a little bit, we could certainly start charging a fare to spread out, possibly spread out the demand for the service, or we could decide to keep it fare free and add additional vehicles or whatnot. So those are all things we can continue to look at once we get the service up and running and see how it operates.
All right, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson, please.
Thank you. And thank you, Ben. This was an excellent presentation. You gave us a lot of information, and that's why I really don't have any questions, because you took care of everything in your presentations and your slides. So I appreciate that. But I just thought, since you're looking for a little bit of feedback, because clearly you're going to bring back an agreement sometime in June, July, I'm in favor of this. I just want to say that up front, in favor of moving forward with this. The devil's in the details. So I would say continue working on this agreement framework through May and then June. And I'm looking forward to getting transit started here in the town of Morrisville. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Ben, for a great presentation. We're all very excited about moving this forward. So we look forward to having that as being part of our proposed budget. Thanks a lot for your time. Okay, we have gone through an agenda and we are 15 minutes under, which is great. So I would now at this time entertain a motion to adjourn. Councilmember Rao.
Sorry, can you hear me?
We can.
I'm sorry, I had to unmute myself. I make a motion that we adjourn.
Thank you. I have a motion to adjourn. Would Mayor Pro Tem Johnson like to make a second?
I would love to make a second and to also add thank you, everyone. This went very, very well.
Thank you from everybody. I have a motion and a second. If our town clerk, Eric Smith, could please take a roll call vote to get us to adjourn.
Councilmember Fender.
What am I saying? Aye or yes or let's adjourn.
Or bye.
Bye.
Councilmember Garamella.
I had a question. I'm just kidding. Yeah. Sorry.
Councilmember Rao.
I have some comments. Just kidding. Adjourn. Aye.
Councilmember Robati.
Aye.
Councilmember Scroggins Johnson.
Aye. Good night.
Mayor Pro Tem Johnson.
Aye.
Mayor Cawley.
Aye. Good night. Thank you to staff. Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, Mayor. Thank you,
Good
guys.
night. Thank you.
We are adjourned. We are now at item 4, a COVID-19 update. I'd like to recognize our town manager, Martha Page.
Thank you, Mayor. Since we have not been able to meet since our March 10th meeting, I thought it would be appropriate to say welcome back and to just give council members and our community listeners just a quick update on what's been happening in town for the last 5 to 6 weeks. Next slide, please. I think the most important thing to say is thank you to our community. Our community response and acceptance of what can only be described as something none of us have ever experienced has just been awesome, and it has made what has been very difficult much easier to get through. So we are so grateful to both our residents and our businesses for making this a time that we've gotten through together. Next slide, please. Since the first state of emergency was announced on March 13th, the town, the staff, and everybody here has been in a progressive response mode. As we started the state of emergency, we started shifting our staff to staggered work schedules with a lot of telemeetings and teleworking, and making sure that we were following all the guidelines for social distancing and cleaning our workspaces. We initially canceled all of our meetings and events through March, then April, and now we're into May. We immediately opened our operations center, our emergency operations center, and that has been operating since the states of emergency were declared, either virtual or in person. Our town buildings were closed to the public on March 23rd. Our playgrounds have been closed, although our parks and greenways have remained open with social distancing. We have daily emergency operations center meetings, daily senior management policy meetings, and we've been talking with our council members at least 3 times a week and providing daily email updates about what's going on in town. We have tried to use our website page as a resource for people to get their questions answered, as well as manning an information line out of the EOC. Next slide. On March 26th, we transitioned to more restrictive stay-at-home guidelines. Our hotline remained available, and we started a robust community and business outreach support that was done in collaboration with our Morrisville Chamber of Commerce. We have tried to provide very proactive education on compliance with our business community, direct support and engagement with our businesses, and started working as well on a continuity of operations plan while still keeping in regular communication with our staff. We have deployed significant social media outreach, and we're hopeful people saw the message from our town council that was issued last week. We've placed signs on our greenways reminding people about our social distancing, and at least for myself and many staff members, many webinars to keep up with everything that is going on at the federal, state, and local level. Next slide. We're very hopeful that we're entering soon the time when we can be talking about reopening and what those gateways are. We are having our first virtual town council meeting tonight. Our farmers market has been operational for the last 2 weeks. We are exploring the transition of our employees gradually back into the workplace. We are preparing for those next steps. And I think I can say we've learned many lessons. And at the end, it will have been a transformative experience for all of us. Next slide. What do I think those takeaways are? I think mostly we miss seeing each other and engaging at work with each other. But we've also learned how to better support each other and assist each other and our community. We value and appreciate our first responders and all of our other frontline staff that are serving our community. We do know how to give and receive help. We are flexible and creative, and we do need others to make us successful. Last slide is we are strong and we are resilient, and I appreciate everything everybody has done as we work together through COVID-19. Mayor, I'll pass it back to you. Mayor, I believe you're muted.
Thank you very much, Town Manager Page, for that update. We really appreciate it.